Peace and Black Power families, brother Agyei Tyehimba from Harlem Liberation School, where we teach Black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. Family, it's been a minute. Been doing a lot of stuff, trying to put a lot of things in order. Facebook kicked me off back in July, and I just got back on there a month ago, and they made me start everything all over. So all the 7,000 followers, friends, whatever I had gone at which was called Black Liberation University. Somebody hacked my email about 3-4 years ago, put up some inappropriate video, and YouTube got terminated my entire channel. So I'm completely cool with being person. I understand what comes with being a community organizer and fighting for Black people in this country. People do all types of things to stop your movement, to frustrate you or demoralize you. And I can say very humbly but firmly, ain't none of it working, family. Still here, still going strong. Well, today I had some technical difficulties. I wanted to show you. I wanted to show some slides, but what I'll do is I'll share the screen and I'll do it that way. I wanted to talk today about 10 character traits that Generation Z could really benefit from. But now that I think about it, if they can benefit from it, so can we. Because the truth of the matter is, as much as we critique any younger generation, those of us who are considered elders have some growing to do as well. But let us begin with the broadcast. I'm going to share the screen. Oh, and family, before I share the screen, let me just remind you that I've started a Facebook group called Wukusu Self-Empowerment Group, in which we're going to be drawing from the book that I have called Wukusu, a Self-Empowerment Handbook. And the point of this Facebook group is not just to get there and dump a bunch of posts and videos and songs. It's to get there and build each other up. Using the Wukusu framework I developed that I talk about in the book, it's really to get us to wake up, clean up, and stand up, to identify who we are, why we're here, what makes us unique, our personality traits, what we're here to do on this planet, to clean up, to be self-corrective, to look at self and say, what are the things that I do or believe that get in my way of being my truest, highest self and the best advocate in our community. And also, this group will help people stand up, exert leadership in their homes, in their neighborhoods, and in their communities, in their group, in their organizations. So I'm very excited about that. If you're interested, go to Facebook, friend me. You see my name, friend me on Facebook, and look up Wukusu Self-Empowerment Group and ask to be a member. And we'll check you out. It has some questions for you to answer. And after that, we're good. So let me get into our presentation. Let me share the screen. Give me 1 second, family. All right. And you should see a big, beautiful slide that says 10 traits Gen Z and we must learn. Right? So notice I put "and we" because, again, it's very easy to point fingers and talk about what somebody else isn't doing or they're doing that you don't like. And really, most of our time and energy really has to be spent looking at self. It's because I'm an educator and a parent, and this is kind of right in line with the work I've been doing for over 30 years, that I have to address this, because I heard so many people of my generation talking about the Gen Z, although they may not call them that. They're generally talking about people we would classify as Gen Z. We're going to talk about who they are and some of their characteristics, some of their pros and cons, according to studies, supposedly, and some 10 character traits that we really should be teaching them and that we should internalize ourselves. Number one, let's start at the beginning. All over the internet, people age 40 and up are critical of what we call Gen Z or Generation Z. Now, some of these critiques are valid, others are exaggerated, others are not valid. Today, we're going to discuss 10 traits to help empower Gen Z and empower all of us. And I'm talking about the Black community, family. We need empowerment. Do not get it twisted. We need to be better and do better. Let's get some background. When you hear people say Generation Z, it refers to a specific group of people born between roughly 1996 and 2010. They are distinguished by being the first generation in the United States context to grow up in a digital world. So this means that when they were born and all the way up to now, they're familiar with getting on tablets, using smartphones, doing OK Google and OK Siri, doing Google searches. They've used the internet. They know about Facebook. They know about Instagram, TikTok, all of that, right? And they're familiar with it. They're savvy with it because they grew up. They're the first generation in this country to grow up into a digital world. Whereas my generation, Generation X, we're savvy with technology because the internet and all this came about during the time we were alive, right? But this group was born into it. A few things you should know, according to some of the studies. Unfortunately, this generation is more likely than all other generations. No, this is a good thing. They're more likely than other generations to save money each month. This generation is very money conscious, families. There's no doubt about it. And they trying to save that money. They ain't trying to be broke. Unfortunately, they are more likely than any other generation to suffer from mental health issues, specifically depression and anxiety. They say that roughly 45 to 52% of the group comprising Generation Z, people born between 1996 and 2010, suffer with anxiety, depression, PTSD, and things of that sort. And that's kind of sad. And I think we need to, at another point, discuss why that is and come up with some interventions to help our youth. Now, there's some general pros and cons of the group. And let me say first that some of this is conjecture. A lot of this is based on studies that were done with employers in the country, teachers, parents. This is some of what they say. So these are generalizations. Some of them are more probably valid than others. But here it goes. According to the general research, the pros of Generation Z, or Gen Z as they're called, they're very strong when it comes to diversity and inclusion. You're going to hear them sticking up for members of LGBTQ communities. They're very big on diversity. They're very big on not making anyone feel bad or not ostracizing or discriminating against anyone solely based on race, gender, sexuality, orientation, their income, where they come from, or what have you. They also are so this means that whether you agree with those politics or not, they are less likely to be oppressive. They're less likely to cause people to commit suicide because unlike our generation, which can kind of be very heavy-handed and very opinionated and judgmental to the point of being oppressive, where people don't feel comfortable expressing themselves and therefore resort to very desperate measures and sad measures like suicide and self-mutilation and drug addiction and so on and so forth. They tend to be very creative. They tend to stand up for their beliefs, and probably largely because of uh, they're savvy with technology, artificial intelligence, searching, things of this nature. They tend to be more independent and they tend to be more entrepreneurial. Now, those things are pretty good, generally speaking. Now, of course, as is the case with anything, there's also some things that are less uh maybe less positive. And these are probably the things that you've heard, or you maybe even said or thought yourself, particularly if you're a parent or an educator, or you're just a grandparent and you observing the difference between this particular generation we're talking about and maybe your generations or generations before you. Some of the cons of the group we would characterize as Gen Z would include maybe their hypersensitive. They're very easily triggered. Um, Even this term triggered, right? Come kind of is largely coming about out of experiences with this generation. I remember teaching a class, and I asked the young lady, "Could you please read this paragraph on this, the smart board?" And she immediately shut down. I said, "What's wrong?" Very good student. I said, "What's wrong?" She says, "Oh, I'm triggered when teachers ask me to read from smart boards. It triggers me." Now, I didn't know how to take that. It was my first time hearing the term. I didn't know, was she trying to get out of reading or trying to be sarcastic or whatever. But that really stunned me. I said, "Wow," because to some degree, no real teacher wants to put kids on the spot, embarrass kids, or give them awkward moments, or crush their spirits. However, at the same time, like, yo, how are you going to work a job, or make ends meet, or be in leadership, or do this type of thing, and you can't, and things like reading trigger you. This is gonna be this is gonna You're gonna have a tough life, because your life is gonna involve reading and doing all types of things. So one of the cons of this group is, oh man, they hypersensitive, everything triggers them. They complain about every little thing, they soft. You may hear that. Another one is that they are lazy and entitled, that they lack the work ethic of previous generations. They're prone to lay around a lot, sleep real late. They feel entitled, almost like the world owes them. Their parents, the older generations owe them. They shouldn't have to work so hard for certain things. Another con would be, or perceived con would be, that they're addicted or overly dependent on technology. So you will see these young people, if you get on a bus, a train, or you see them wherever they are into those phones and those tablets and those laptops, and they just into it. They seem almost like these things are glued to parts of their body almost sometimes. And the parents and teachers would get on them for that, but we have to understand they were born into this. These are things we learned about late when we were like maybe 15, 20, 30. These are things these kids were born into. That's what they know. Right. And also there's an idea that this generation is narcissistic. Now that covers a lot. That covers a whole lot of negative things. Narcissistic, arrogant, not very empathetic, kind of socially awkward, don't really care about other people, what they're going through in a certain way. Um, there's an idea that this group has poor critical thinking skills. Now, this is related to that addiction to technology, by the way. There's plenty of studies. I just talked about a book. We did a book called Reader Come Home by Marianne Wolf, who is a reading teacher and also a brain scientist. And her study showed that this generation, because they're born into the digital age and they read most of their information they get from digital sources, ebooks. They're looking stuff up on their phone. They're scrolling on the tablet. And she's saying that the scrolling generation, that because they're reading, the type of reading that happens when you scroll is not deep reading, considered deep or close reading. You're looking for highlights, headlines, very superficial type of reading. So that this leads those people who engage in education and those type of educational tools to have a very limited understanding of history and sociology and the world and politics. Very surface, they're very fact and data driven, you know. So as we may be in a conversation talking about uh the importance of Wu-Tang Clan's first album as a social statement, or KRS-One, and they'll quickly be like, look it up real quick on their iPhone or whatever, and they'll tell you these facts. They this is when the group started. But their ability to come up with a critique or some type of critical thinking. Okay, the facts we can get off the internet. What we want is analysis, and that's where they tend to struggle, because most of the ways that they get their information involves very quick, instant gratification type of stuff. So this also relates to they struggle with patience and taking their time. Everything has to be really quick. So their attention span is very limited as well. And then, of course, self-absorbed and materialistic, which kind of goes back to narcissism. So you can see kind of the consensus based on society at large. Maybe even you believe some of these things. I know I certainly believe some of them as relates to our Gen Z youth. Now, let's get into, based on our real general understanding of what Gen Z is, their traits, some of their challenges, perhaps. What are some of the character traits that we should definitely be teaching our young people in our church, in our mosque, in our homes, right? In our schools, in our community centers and after school programs? Number one, integrity. Integrity is the quality of being honest, keeping your word, being principled. And people with integrity are trustworthy and reliable. They say something, you know they're gonna do it. They ain't gonna tell you something. Oh, I'm gonna do this, and they don't do it, and you're like, oh, right? Or they're telling you a lie, right? Or they're trying to get out of doing some work. You can't depend on them. Got to teach these young folk integrity. That's very important. Number two, we have to teach the quality of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. And this is very important as it relates to building strong relationships. Empathy helps to cultivate kindness, unity, and collaboration, right? So, empathy occurs when you are approaching something from the point of view of someone else's point of view. Well, how does this person feel? Let me put myself in their shoes. Let me try to imagine what they're going through, what their experience is like. And this is important because what you'll find is a lack of empathy leads to a lot of social problems, right? Some would say we have a person that was elected to office as president who has demonstrated a complete lack of empathy for the poor, for women, for black people and people of color, and on and on and on. When you don't have empathy, you are more likely to be oppressive uh, to other people. And this is very important. You have to teach the young people to empathize with people. Number three, humility. Recognizing one's limitations and being open to learning, being open to people correcting you when you're wrong, and being open to growing. Humble people, for example, are not the type to dominate people. They're not trying to manipulate you. They're not going to impose their beliefs on you. Humble people understand. A lot of people think humble means that you're supposed to bow down and be meek and let people walk all over you. And that's not what it's supposed to mean. Humility is the opposite of arrogance. It means that what you're going to do as a humble person is you're going to downplay yourself. Now, you don't always need to be the center of attention. You don't always need to be the loud person in the room. We don't always have to hear your opinion on every single thing. That you make space for other people to shine. You recognize that you are important and you are a superstar, but you're not the only superstar in the room, right? Okay, let us continue. Hold on one second, families. I take a quick pause for the cause. Hold on one second. I'm back, family. Sorry. Had to address something real quick. So, being humble does not mean you be a doormat. We don't teach our young people to be a doormat, but we teach them take a deep breath. Let other people share their story. Let other people voice their opinion. Give space for other people to shine. You are important, but you're not the only one important. Number 4, resilience. What is resilience? It is the capacity to confront problems, recover from difficulties, and adapt to challenges. Why is this important? Well, I want you to think about it for a minute. Think about this for a minute. Imagine that you got two people, one person, both people had several health issues, several setbacks financially, lost their businesses because, let's say, of the COVID epidemic a few years back. Both people had deaths of very important people in their family. Both people were in very important long-term relationships that failed, and they're no longer with their loved one. And one person is drinking themselves to death. They in the club, they out promiscuous, they're just going berserk. They quit their job or they get fired from their jobs because they're coming in late and drunk and high. And the other person is going maybe to church, or they're getting into meditation, or they're doing some exercise, they're going to therapy, or what have you. These are examples of resilience. Means that you're able, because of the way you deal with adversity and conflicts and difficulties in a healthy way, you're able to recover, to bounce back. And it doesn't mean that you don't go through things. It just means that an empowered person that's resilient, it's the way they process it. They say, okay, I'm going through a breakup. I'm not the only one. Millions of people going through breakups. Those millions of people are still alive. Well, guess what? Some of them are doing well after their breakup. Some of them met better partners after their breakup. So you know what? Maybe I will too. So because of their mentality and their outlook, they're better able to bounce back and recover from a breakup that may completely crush a person who's not resilient, right? So this resilience is very powerful. And since one of the critiques of Gen Z is that they're very hypersensitive, they have quite a few mental health challenges or stress and anxiety, this is important to help them develop the resilience, to know that being afraid is okay, being a little apprehensive is okay, but we cannot let those feelings dominate or get in the way of us doing what we need to do to get where we need to get and be who we need to be and reach who we need to reach, right? So resilience is very important. Number 5, the big SD, self-discipline. Wow, family. All these are so important, but this one I really relate to. Self-discipline is the ability to control your impulses and stay focused on long-term goals, right? This is so important for you to be successful. This helps you to be consistent. It helps you to overcome your distractions, your appetites, and your temptations. Family, do you know how many people are probably in the graveyard, in the cemetery, who were brilliant musicians, entertainers, dancers, athletes, teachers, parents, artists? We know some famous people in the Black community who are some of the most talented entertainers, athletes, intellectuals, artists, musicians, but because they had trouble with the ability to say, I'm not going to touch that drug. Not going to drink. I'm not going to and be engaged in these high risk behaviors just because I'm stressed out or because I'm a little tired or depressed. I'm going to find healthy ways to deal with that, but I'm not going to go to these other things. I'm going to stay focused even when the money's not coming in and nobody's clapping for me and nobody's buying my songs, nobody's buying my books. I'm going to stay the course. I'm going to stay the course. Because if I stay the course, My success may be right around the corner, right? My success may be a week away. And how many people have killed themselves because they thought that their big break was never coming? And meanwhile, if they had stayed the course, their big break would have been right around the corner in some cases. Self-discipline is a superpower. And people with really good self-discipline often outperform people with great ideas and all types of talent and all types of ability because they'll talk a good game, but the people with self-discipline are going to make it happen. They're going to do the things that must be done every day to make sure they're in good shape. If they're an athlete, make sure they practice their free throws. Make sure they like my man Stephen Curry. Make sure that they are on top of their game intellectually, like the writers and the scientists and doctors, right? They're going to make sure they stay on top of their craft. Self-discipline. When they feel like, oh no, I could slack off. Oh no, I could cheat and use artificial intelligence to do my videos. Or write my dissertation. No, I'm going to do it myself. Self-discipline, family, can make somebody who's okay in talent and okay with connections outperform the people with all the connections and all the talent in the world, family. Take my word for it. Teach the youth self-discipline. 6, self-esteem. Now, self-esteem kind of talks about how much a person respects and values and believes in themselves, family, and believes in their abilities, believes in their achievements, proud of their identity. Self-esteem is a complex sort of a trait, but we do know it's shaped by several things: by your life experiences, how you were raised, the things you were exposed to, the people you're exposed to or not exposed to, the relationships you've been in. All of that has a strong effect on how you see yourself and how you're treated by others, how you treat others, what you tolerate or accept. Again, self-esteem is another game changer. Do you know how many people have minimal talent, not rich, don't come from some rich, successful family, don't know a lot of rich and important people or powerful people, but their self-esteem is through the roof. When they look in the mirror, they see beauty, they see intelligence, they see capability, they're confident, and that confidence projects. People feel it like an energy. You ever see somebody that got up to talk in front of a group of people and they was all slumped over and they seemed awkward and they was stumbling over their words and seemed not too confident? It has a way of turning you off, doesn't it? You almost feel, well, if they're not confident in what they're saying or themselves, it almost makes you feel like you tune out, right? And then you got a person that's standing up there straight and tall, confident, looking you in your eyes, funny, cracking jokes, you know, make certain gestures and really gets your attention. Confidence is contagious and attractive. And you'll find that people with high self-esteem, 9 times out of 10, are going to perform better than people with really low self-esteem. These are people who are constantly saying, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good looking. I'm ugly. I'm not talented. Everybody's better than me. I can't do this. I can't do that. Right? So we want to teach our young people. We want to help them cultivate high self-esteem. Number 7, basic trait, consideration. What do we mean? Consideration is the thoughtful and respectful regard for the needs, feelings, and perspectives of others. Being mindful of how your actions or words may affect others. So, for instance, these are things we don't think about, but let's say that I just cooked a big meal. And cooking that meal, I use all these dishes and, I make kind of a mess because I'm cooking big meal. Let's say I'm cooking for 5, 6 people, right? A considerate person might say, wow, Agyei cooked this big, huge dinner and we all ate and liked it. So what I'm going to do, or what we're going to do, We're going to wash the dishes. That's considerate. Or let's say you live with an elder. The elder has mobility issues. They may walk with a cane or a walker, right? And you see that you got stuff on the floor, or maybe you left water or some cleaner on the floor that's very slippery. And you know that your grandpa or grandma may walk down this way, and you don't want them to fall and really get hurt. So out of consideration, you don't have to do it. Nobody's paying you to do it. And it's not against the law if you don't do it. But because you're considerate, you say, you know what? I'm going to move this stuff. I'm going to clear this walkway so that when grandma or grandpa walks through here, they don't fall and get hurt. Right? Consideration, you're thinking about other people, not yourself. You're thinking about you. Somebody says, hey, how do I look in this? Now, you think they look crazy. But if you're a considerate person, you realize that saying that it may hurt the person's feelings, and it's not worth that. So, because you know this means a lot to the person, you might say something like, I don't know if I'd wear it, but I think it looks good on you. Do you like it? You're considerate. It doesn't mean you're lying to people. It doesn't mean you're coddling them or flattering them, telling them lies. But it means that you're thoughtful. You don't want to hurt people's feelings, and you want to make sure that you're mindful that your actions or your words may affect people in a negative way, right? Teaching young people consideration is very important for their character, family. One of the critiques of Gen Z is that they have uh, low regard for other people and what they think. So we don't want to create a generation like that, and we don't want to be like that. We want to make sure that whether they white, black, Latino, doesn't matter. We're considerate. That when we walk out in this world, we're considerate of other human beings. We're not out here trying to beat nobody, cheat nobody, get over on nobody, hurt nobody's feelings. Right? Very important. Number 8, diligence. Diligence simply is it's the same as saying conscientious. Diligent people, when they do work, when they do a task, they do it carefully, with effort, with serious effort, and their intention is to do the best possible job. You ever had somebody you said, hey, do me a favor, wash dishes? They wash dishes and there's crumbs all on the dishes. Right? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. Diligent people realize that what they do is a reflection of who they are. And what they do is a reflection of whose they are, right? So in other words, when you're going out in the world, teaching young people, when they go out in the world and they working at a fast food place and they got to clean the counter, or they got to mop, or they're a teacher, they got to come up with those lesson plans, or whatever they do, that when they're doing a task, it's not just the task that's important. It's saying something about them, their character. And it's also saying something about the people that raised them. Because you know what happens? If I'm in class and I get a homework assignment and I turn in a homework assignment, got chicken grease on it, it's torn in half, you can barely read it, it's done in pencil, the teacher can't make out what it is, it's crumbled up. That's not giving my best work. And the teacher, if this is done constantly, the teacher will be led to believe, Dad, what type of home is this poor kid in? Are they teaching them that that's not acceptable to turn in work like that? They didn't put their name on the assignment. It's just, I don't know who gave this work in. Diligence is teaching young people what you do and how you do it matters. And that when your name goes on something, our family's name goes on something. In a racial context, you might say our people's name. Our people go on that. We're showing the world, regardless of who we're talking about, that our people strive to do things well. We don't half-ass it. We don't do enough just to get by. We don't shortchange ourselves or others. If we say we're going to do something, or if it's our responsibility to do something, we give our best effort. Because in giving our best effort, we're saying something to the people that they're valuable. Imagine if I cooked you a meal and everything was burnt, overcooked, rushed, how would you feel about that? Think about that. How you what would the impression be, man? This person didn't he just rushed the rice is hard, the chicken ain't right, this ain't right. You would think, man, this person, man, they don't care. They don't care what they produce for others. They don't care about us. Wow. Right? So it's the same thing. Teach our young people, do your best. Don't try to be, because one of the critiques of Gen Z is that they rush. Everything's real quick with them. Short attention span. They don't have patience. They do stuff real quick, and they're doing stuff real quick. They do stuff wrong, improperly, inadequately, right? Half baked. So teach diligence. Do the work. Take your time. Do it right, because it says a lot about you that a resume may not say. Right? If you're in a job interview, your resume may be outstanding, but look, the interview is looking at how you came in the door. Did you hold the door for them when they were coming in? Hmm? Did you sneeze or burp or fart? Did you say excuse me? Right now you're laughing, but this is you are a walking resume, right? So this is your cell phone on an interview. People call you on an interview. You didn't think to turn the phone off. See, diligence, that you give thought to what you do and you do your best. Number 9, a big one, the big A word, accountability. Accountability means that you accept responsibility for your actions and your words and your circumstances, and that you're not one of these people. Everything wrong with you is because of somebody else. You're unhappy because somebody else. Huh? You don't have no money because of somebody else. Your place ain't clean because of somebody else. You ain't living in the mansion you should be living in because of somebody else. Right? Now, certainly we are social beings, and yes, if you're on a team, you got a team, and the teammates are lazy and certainly not diligent, not careful, not empathetic, yeah, that will affect you. But as we become adults, we have to start looking at, we're in the places we're in, the spaces we're in, the situations we're in, a lot of times because of choices we made. And you will note that the people who tend to be fulfilled, successful by their own definitions, they're accountable. They're accountable. If someone say, hey man, you left this and that, they're not gonna fight you. They're not gonna argue with you for an hour. They'll say, Dad, my bad. I did that. Yeah, I did do that. I take care of it. They're not only gonna say, my bad, and yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I could have done better. They're gonna go and they're gonna address the issue. Whereas the unaccountable person, the shamer and blamer, they never accept responsibility. Everything that happens to them is someone else's fault. And such people, until they rectify that way of thinking, will never grow. Their luck will never change. So-called luck. Their circumstances will rarely change or improve because they got to change that way of thinking. They have to take responsibility, right? Other people can influence you and affect you, but at the end of the day, you got to ask, well, did you let that person in your life? Did you allow that to happen? When this happened, did you check it? So we have something to do often with the situations we're in. Teach the young people early. Stop being one of these people that got a million excuses, 8 million stories for your failure, your dysfunction. Stop it. Admit that you did it wrong, address it, and become stronger and better. And lastly, but not least, number 10, that W word, wisdom. Wisdom. That's so deep. I got to pause on that for a minute. What is wisdom? Well, it's the ability to use knowledge, information, experiences. And I'm going to also say intuition to make sound judgments. What is a sound judgment? It means you make a decision that turns out to be a good one, and it's based on what you have available. Right? Let's say that you out on a date, and sisters, you like the brother, You know, he looks good to you. He smells nice. This and that. Okay, you go out on another day. You go out on another day. You go out on another day. And based on what you see, he seems like a pretty good dude, right? But you didn't ask around. You just went on how he smelled and how he looked and the funny joke he cracked, and he was so cute and he told you such nice things and he hugged you and he held your hand, but you never asked what's his background, what's his family like, what about his mother, what's his relationship with his pops, what hood is he from? Let me ask the people in the neighborhood, what type of dude was this guy growing up? Huh? Why do you think that when you go for a job, they want references and a resume? They want to make sure, right? These people want to make sure that they can cross-reference what you're telling them. They know they can't just go by what people say. They have to investigate it, right? So even that is wisdom, knowing that you can't go by surface impressions. Oh, this person sold this and that. Well, you just only knew him for a month. You might want to give it a good year before you start making those type of heavy conclusions. You have to observe people, right, in different circumstances, in different moods, in different emotional situations to be able to say, oh, this person is this way or that way. And even then, you may not fully know the person. But wisdom is this ability to take this information and make good judgments. Wise people, if you had to measure it, more often than not, make pretty good high level decisions. But guess what? Wise people make some foolish decisions too. I strive to be wise. I really do. I work hard to gain or develop wisdom. But I have to tell you, family, I have been in my life, I've been in perfect situations that I completely blew. Perfect situations that because of my own ignorance or ego or whatever it was, my lack of wisdom, I did not see the situation I had or the opportunity I had. I've had beautiful opportunities that may have passed me by that now I would have recognized and seized, right? Some of the stuff you live and learn, no one's perfect, but wisdom is that ability to see it. When everybody else is getting caught up in some cult, you're going, wait a minute. They don't let you read outside books. They tell you what you can eat and can't eat. They make you sell X amount of books, and if you don't, they punish you. They say anybody who disagrees with the leader is the enemy and you got to kill them. That's a cult, buddy. I don't think you should rock with that. The wise person is going to put that together a lot quicker than most. Some people will have to go through the cult and go through the abuse of being in a cult before they get it. Wise people see it coming way before most people do. And you might even hear a wise person. Even the way they give out information and advice is wise. Right? My father didn't argue a lot with me. He would say, listen, I think you should do it. And if I say, all right, he said, all right, suit yourself. Suit yourself. Okay. Then you in charge of that. Or he might say, son, a word to the wise is sufficient. In other words, a fool has to actually smoke the crack and get addicted to it and start robbing and stealing and prostituting themselves before they recognize it's probably not a good idea. The wise person can observe all the other unfortunate brothers and sisters who became addicted to crack and the negative, nefarious consequences of that act, how it destroyed their families, sent people to jail, got them involved in violence and all this. They had them doing stuff they would never do. And they could, on the basis of that observation, say, what? I ain't never going nowhere to no crack. Wise person can look at the people in their family that were talented, right? And they could be like, man, this uncle or aunt or loved one had such promise and talent that was destroyed because of alcohol or because of philandering with women and these extramarital affairs and all these children with other people destroyed the fabric of their family. So the wise child, and listen, children can be wise, family. Children can exhibit wisdom at young ages. Don't sleep on kids. Some kids can do that. And some adults almost never seem to be able to do it. It's right in front of them and they can't see it. And they go through the same cycle. Every time they're in the same exact predicament because they fail to put two and two together. They fail to do the math and come to a correct conclusion. So without any delay, family, that's what we got. Those are 10 character traits we got to teach, not just Generation Z. Let's keep it real. We got to internalize them ourselves, because it is one thing to beat up on white supremacy, to check it as we should, to confront it, to resist it. And it's another thing, as we're doing that, to say, there's things about me as an individual, there's things about we as a people that are not good, that get in our way of success, that get in our way of saving money, that get in our way of challenging brutality, that get in our way of doing well in school and performing well, that get in our way of moving the way we want to move in life. And we need to address those things and resolve them. So, family, I hope it was helpful. Thank you for joining. Those who watch live and those who watch the later recorded version, please remember to subscribe. Don't forget to get that Wukusu book. And don't forget to join me on Facebook in the Wukusu Self-Empowerment Group. Peace and Black Power, family. Thank you for watching.